There's a strange silence in the Appalachian Mountains, a kind of quiet that presses against your skin. Not peaceful, not serene, but heavy, ancient. The kind of silence that feels like it's listening. Stretching from Alabama to Maine, Appalachia is one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. And over those millions of years, it's been a witness to things forgotten, things buried, things unnatural. The stories from these woods don't just speak of ghosts or legends, they speak of warnings. Tonight, we're going to descend into the shadowy heart of Appalachia, where reality begins to bend, and where the most disturbing horror stories were never meant to be told. These are tales they tried to bury, and for good reason. Jeremy Parks wasn't looking for anything strange when he went hiking that summer. Just a quiet trail, away from people, a chance to unplug. He was the kind of guy who mocked ghost stories. Raised in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, Jeremy grew up hearing tales of witches and wild women, forest phantoms and monsters. He always thought it was just mountain folklore, until he found the woman. It started like any other hike, sunlight filtering through the trees, birdsong in the distance. He took a lesser-known trail near Meadow River, one locals called Crooked Spine, a name whispered more than written. It wasn't on most maps, and when he mentioned it to a gas station clerk, she just gave him a long, silent stare. About an hour into the trail, Jeremy saw her, a pale figurehead barely visible between the trees. She moved slowly, barefoot, in a long white dress. At first he assumed she was just another hiker, but something was off. She never looked back, never made a sound, and the air around her felt wrong, cold despite the heat, still despite the wind. Curiosity overrode caution. He followed her, called out, no answer. The deeper he went, the quieter the forest became. No birds, no insects, just his footsteps and hers. Then she stopped. Jeremy raised his phone to snap a photo, but the screen froze. Static, as if the camera didn't want to see her. She turned her head slightly. And that's when he saw her face, or what should have been a face. There were no features, just smooth, flesh-coloured skin, where eyes and a mouth should have been, and that's when he heard the whisper. Not from in front of him, but from directly behind, low, wet, and unmistakably human. It said his name, twice. Jeremy ran. He didn't stop until he hit the trailhead. When he reviewed the footage, most of it was corrupted. But for a few flickering frames at the end, there she was. Not ahead, but behind him. Jeremy's story spread online briefly, but the original footage, deleted, vanished. Some say the Whispering Woman isn't a ghost, but a mimic. A forest-born entity that feeds on isolation and curiosity. Others believe she's the remnant of something far older than the mountain itself. No one's seen Jeremy in years. He moved out of state, off the grid. Some believe he's still running. The Red River Gorge in Kentucky is known for its beauty, and for the people who never come back. In July of 2011, 5 college students from Louisville camped near Chimney Top Rock. They weren't ghost hunters, just friends looking for adventure. But by the second night, they knew something was wrong. At exactly 2:14 a.m., they heard it. A scream so sharp, so guttural, that it startled birds into the air. It echoed through the gorge like something ancient. It didn't sound human. It didn't sound animal. It sounded like pain. The group argued. Some thought it was a prank, one thought it was a bobcat, but every night, same time, same scream. By the 4th night, 2 of them, Lena and Marcus, decided to find the source. Armed with flashlights and a GoPro, they followed the sound into the gorge. The remaining friends stayed back, waiting. They never returned. Days passed, a search was launched. Eventually a ranger found Lena's phone, perched on a rock near a sharp drop. The screen was cracked, the battery nearly dead. The last video was never released to the public, but someone on the inside leaked a few frames. In the footage, Lena is crying. Marcus is whispering that he sees something moving on the cliffs. Then the scream comes again, but this time it's much closer. The camera shakes. There's a shadow. Something tall, thin, shifting along the rocks. And then, nothing. Locals whisper of a banshee-like spirit in the gorge, a woman who leapt to her death in the 1800s after her baby drowned in the river below. They say she cries out every night for a soul to take with her, so she won't be alone. Lena and Marcus are still listed as missing. No trace, no bodies, just the scream still heard today at 2:14 a.m. By now you might be thinking these are just stories, campfire tales, but here's something to consider. In Appalachian folklore, the land itself is alive, not just metaphorically, but spiritually. There's a belief that the forest can watch and remember, that it punishes those who don't respect it and rewards those who feed it. In the late 1800s, near Hazard, Kentucky, the mines ran deep, and the superstitions even deeper. Eula Hargrove lived alone near a mining town that saw more than its share of tragedy. Some say she was a healer, others say she was a witch. But everyone agrees on one thing. When the mine collapsed in 1883, Eula was to blame. She had warned the foreman, said the mountain was angry, said the men needed to leave offerings. They laughed. 2 days later, a tunnel collapsed. 7 men were buried alive. Over the following year, the survivors began dying, one by one, crushed, burned. One man had his insides twisted like a rag, and another simply vanished from a locked room. Word spread fast. Eula was the cause. She was the mountain's mouthpiece. A mob formed, but when they arrived at her cabin, it was empty. Food still warm, candles still lit. No Eula. She had disappeared into the mountain. In 2019, urban explorers found that same mine shaft. They posted their findings on a now-defunct YouTube channel. Deep underground, they found sigils carved into the walls, bones arranged in patterns, a mirror that reflected something that wasn't in the room. She's still here. The feed cut off. No one's heard from them since. Some say Eula never left, that she became one with the mountain, and when miners hear whispers in the dark now, they know not to answer. In the autumn of 1997, two hunters, Randy and Davy, got turned around in the backwoods of Harlan County. As night fell, they stumbled onto a cabin. Rotting wood, boarded windows. No path leading in or out, just standing there like it grew from the ground. Inside, they found animal bones, handmade dolls, and a journal written in looping cursive. The author, Elias Carver. He claimed he fed the forest once a month using things he trapped, or people he lured. Blood wakes the roots, one passage read. The forest gives when it is given to. They left before nightfall, but when they returned with a park ranger, the cabin was gone. Not torn down, gone, as if it never existed. Weeks later, Davy began waking up screaming, talking in his sleep. One night he walked into the woods and never came back. Randy found a page from the journal on his porch. It wasn't stained, it wasn't yellowed, it was fresh. It read, "The forest takes what it's owed. The name Devil's Hollow isn't just for show. In the 1930s, a boy named Caleb drowned while playing near the river. His parents vanished weeks later, their cabin abandoned, dinner still on the table. Since then, hikers and hunters report hearing a child crying at night, always near water, always pleading. A man named Carl Jenkins, a local radio host and amateur ghost hunter, went out to find the source in 2013. He was live streaming, laughing, taunting the spirits. That laughter didn't last. I can hear him. He's close, so close. There's a splash, a scream. The camera falls. Carl was never found, but hikers now report hearing two cries in the hollow. The Skin Taker is one of the most feared legends in Pikeville. Tall, pale, featureless, wears faces like clothing. It began in 1987, when 3 teens vanished after sneaking into an abandoned processing plant. All that remained was a blood-stained camera. The footage was never made public, but according to a former deputy, it showed something crawling on the ceiling, moving too fast, wearing something human. In 2022, a woman named Lila Caldwell said her brother saw it, standing in their driveway, wearing their father's face. Their father had been dead for 10 years. Her brother vanished that night. Lila moved away, but in one final post she wrote, "He's not gone, he's wearing my brother now." These stories may seem unbelievable, but to the people who live in Appalachia, they're as real as the ground they walk on. Because in these mountains, if you hear your name whispered, you don't answer. If you see something move that shouldn't, you don't follow. And if you feel the forest watching you, it is. Some stories were buried for a reason, but now they've been unearthed. Subscribe to Paranormal, etc., where the unknown is never forgotten.